Hello and welcome to the Preseason 24 Plat Spy Roundtable. I'm the host Zagron. I play on Dodoris. I have 8 other spies with me today. Introduce yourselves in the mumble order, name and team.
Am I starting?
Yeah.
Okay, my name is Dimento. Real name is Jacob. I've been playing since Season 12, and currently I'm on Taco Salad Gaming Esports.
Thanks. I'm Evil, aka Kiritas. Play on Roadkill this season. Spy and Platinum.
My name is Joe, real name is Joe, and I play on No Breaks UGC.
My name is Chris18, real name Chris. I'm playing on Second Win this season.
My name is Mondragon, real name Anthony, and I'm playing on DPM this season.
I'm Mr. Deldongo, but you can call me Weston. I'm starting for Fast Forward this season.
I'm Shotaway, real name Kyle, maining on the Legal and Dairy people on Spy.
My name is Vipa, my real name is Simeon, and I'm playing on DK.
I like how I didn't ask for first names, but the meta evolved halfway through, so that's nice. Anyway, we're going to start off with the biggest change to Spy in a long time that not many people are happy about from this class, the Ambassador nerf. On one hand, I'm fine with it. I don't think the Ambassador is, the right way to play Spy. I just think that I don't enjoy it. I don't like the whole sniper spy thing. I know a lot of people here probably disagree with me, so let's hear some of those opinions.
Well,
Anyway.
I think it was very strong previously. I do think it did deserve a nerf. Maybe not this harsh, but I do think it's definitely still a viable option.
I'm of the opinion that since Spy was already like a bottom 3 class, the Ambassador was essential because on certain maps or in certain positions where you can't do anything actually spy related, as in backstabbing people, a good example would be like when everybody's on the Asheville ramp, you're not going to get a stab. The Ambassador at least gave you something to do, and now you literally cannot do anything.
I think the Ambassador nerfs put it in a position where it's extremely worse than the Revolver, where the Revolver both out DPSs and outranges the Ambassador.
I think even before the nerf, you'd probably get more frags just using the normal revolver.
I agree with that.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's an item that you need a lot of skill and aim to use. And not even a lot of spies playing today could even abuse it really hard. I don't think it really needed to be nerfed this hard.
I just think a different nerf is in order. It added, I feel like every class has 2 different ways to play, and now Spy is stuck with one way to play, and that's just decloak and hope no one turns around. Or wait for your team to actually give you a distraction with Cloak and Dagger.
I think a potential rebuff is to increase the range significantly to the point where the current range where it does 54, at the very edge of that it should stop doing 102s there and maybe mini crit or do less from there. But it definitely needs more range, or alternatively, I'm not sure how this would actually pan out, but possibly some sort of ramp up damage at close range.
Ooh, the 145.
Oh
Yeah,
my
something
god.
like
Imagine one-shotting a
That'd be
scout
interesting.
running at you. Oh no. I know a lot of medic players were unhappy with it because they would just get double 102 to cross the map. What are your responses to those people who think that they shouldn't be able to die like that?
It happens very rarely. And to even do something like that requires a lot of aim and skill on the spy's part.
I feel like it's the same as a sniper being really aggressive, like Scissor used to be, and just getting in a position where he sees the medic, where snipers normally don't stand, and quick scoping them. It's the same thing.
I think
A lot of skill.
I think if anything, that was more a problem with the DR plus the ambi, where now if a spy tries, or even in the absence of the ambi back then, if you try to do that, you can't. You have no way to get out. You just die.
I definitely agree with what Shotaway just said. With, let's say you're running Ambassador and Viswatch and you were trying to do that to a medic, if you were up in his face, you'd have exactly 2 shots before you die. And then if you're at max range, I mean, if you're hitting max range headshots without a scope, I think that's pretty skillful.
And that was one of the biggest things about the weapon. It was the highest skill cap weapon for the Spy, pretty much without a doubt. And speaking of the Dead Ringer was also hit with a nerf. You can now no longer pick up ammo with it. How does this put it in comparison to the other watches?
I think it was already pretty much garbage compared to the Inviswatch in terms of raw things that you can do with it. Yes, you could use it with the Ambassador and get kills, but I don't think there's many spies, I could be wrong, many spies who think that the DR is actually a straight upgrade. Now it's just trash. I think you might be able to rebalance it a little bit by, kind of giving it cloak on kill, so you can't just spam on ammo packs. And maybe that'll give it back something that kind of was before, but I don't know.
I personally think the new Dead Ringer is fine. I think it coupled with the new flame changes are not fine.
That's an interesting perspective. I thought that the Dead Ringer was an upgrade in some cases. Mostly due to how it complemented my playstyle. However, I still didn't think it was necessarily worthy of a nerf. It really, now the only time you can use the Dead Ringer effectively is you're either running the classic Chris 18 L'Étranger Big Earner setup, or it's the last maybe 20 seconds of a King of the Hill / Payload Map.
I think the recharge length is way too long and makes the Spy extremely predictable, where if you know his DR is up, you're just going to look for him, trigger the DR, wait 20 seconds, and repeat ad nauseum.
Yeah, that thing where you could, not have a static, unchanging recloak time made it so it added some unpredictability, but now you're literally just on a cycle. Like, I think there's nothing you can do about that.
A possible rebuff would be ammo can replenish it up to 80% or some arbitrary percentage, so that there is still that element a little bit there, and then you have to recharge maybe the last 10% or 20% or so.
Or they could just further reduce the amount of ammo you get from or the amount of cloak you get from ammo packs. I don't know.
Because
that's another interesting way to do that.
The only time it was egregious is when you were picking up fallen building shit.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because people hate it because on Koth you would just run it and pick up mini sentry remains and have Fanes for days. But the whole Koth playstyle with the whole Dead Ringer thing, that was most notorious when the Spycicle was, pre-nerf. It's been hit a couple times. So the Spycicle in its current, it had a bug after the Pyro patch that made it, I don't want to say completely unusable, but it put it in a really bad spot where the flames wouldn't instantly detonate it, so you would still be lit on fire, and then it would get taken. It was a really weird bug. It got fixed. What are opinions on its state right now?
I believe it's exactly the same as it was before the update, yeah?
Yeah, I think so too.
Now that the bug's fixed, I still think it's the best knife to use all around.
Yeah. I would agree it's the most
versatile. I still think it's less useful than it was because of new flames. So it's way harder to escape post Jungle Inferno, which might introduce more room to just be using another knife.
Yeah, I think that's another thing that needs to be brought up, is both the Pyro and the Heavy, the two biggest spy checking classes, both got a damage buff this update. That's something worth bringing up.
Oh yeah, that was another thing, you can't really surf the minigun away anymore.
The Heavy's damage is nothing new though. The Pyro's damage is entirely new to TF2. They just reverted it back to what the Heavy was.
Maybe a little bit of an unpopular opinion, but I actually don't like the Spycicle as it is, and I don't think it's very great, in my opinion, in competitive, because I feel like I would lose a lot of picks, and I don't gain so much for it, because then I'd have to run away for 10-15 seconds, get cloak, and then go back in. Now sometimes, it may be worth it, but I feel generally it's not.
I agree with Chris here. It feels like I lose more picks using it than I would gain by, getting away from the Pyro and letting it come back. There was a change a while back, though, which made it so it recharges based on ammo. I can't remember exactly how far back that was, but that kind of helped with that. Where it had the Dead Ringer problem where you were just on a cycle when it got burned.
Yeah, I find that I'm never waiting 15 seconds. It's really like anywhere from 5 to 10. 10 being like 10 being like very bad, but 5 being most usual. I'm getting 5 seconds between my Spycicles. And I think if we looked at my stats in terms of deaths compared to other spies, I tend to die the least and wait the most between going in, and the Spycicle seems to help me when it comes to just getting out.
What about a change that added a bit of more of a passive effect? So while you have your gun out, it can trigger. Gives you a more capability of combating pyros.
Speaking about them melting passively, I don't think that would really make as big a difference as it sounds like it would, because you just take a shot, press 3, and then immediately press back to 1, and you lost maybe a quarter of a second. Now that could make the difference between life and death, but...
That's 2 shots. Yeah, you lose a lot of combat ability against a pyro. Like it's easier to fight pyros with the Spycicle because you do have that extra shot than you wouldn't have without it, but it still doesn't seem like it's useful with the new pyro damage.
I will say this much though. I need to experiment without the Spycicle because I was playing a pug and I was just using the stock knife. When the pyro only nicks you with flames and you're cloaked, it's only like 2 to 3 seconds of being on fire.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting. I still feel like against a very coordinated team though, Spycicle's essential to ever stay alive after you get a pick.
Yeah, I would never. I don't think I've equipped the default knife since I was in like gold. I either use the Spycicle or the big earner.
Yeah, recently I've been using the big earner a lot. I think in part because of the bug with the Spycicle recently. But I've been enjoying the big earner a lot.
Yeah, and transitioning to the big earner, it's got the last buff it got, the movement speed on backstab. That gave it a lot of notoriety for being the face stab knife. Our good friend over here, Chris18, has caused many of my teammates to yell his name in vain.
Oops.
But so it had a really interesting change that gave the Spy, I don't want to say a new play style, but new options. So that coupled with a minus 25 health makes it so it enhances the pick play style, and you don't really run it with the gun play style because you'll die to 1 meat shot or 1 rocket. So what's your guys' opinions on when you use the big earner?
Always.
Never.
Always. I don't use it often because the 25 health is very important when you want to kill people with your gun.
I don't... Oh, go ahead.
Whoa, we almost spoke at the same time there. I never use it because when I'm compromised, I tend to be able to surf damage into people's backs. I would just die with the big earner. But even though that sounds kind of strange, like, since I have an undisguised bind on my middle mouse, I'm surfing a lot of damage and I'm constantly getting away like 25 health or below. I would have just died with the big earner in those scenarios. That's why I don't like it.
Also, link me your undisguised bind because I've been looking for one for a while. Because surfing damage is very, very important after getting a pick.
In my case, it's not something that I get to take advantage of a lot, and I don't have a good bind for it. It's on my backspace key, so I can't really just use that quickly.
The bind will be more for, like, you're already caught and you haven't gotten a pick, and now you don't have to, like, shoot or swing your knife. You can just click real quick and unbind.
Yeah, like, every time somebody sees me when I'm flashing cloak, I will hit that bind.
Yeah, it's while you're cloaked. Thank you.
Yeah, I have one of those as well, and that's actually an interesting perspective in that, in that being the downside of the big earner, because I've always been of the opinion that the real downside was that it's not the Spycicle, and not the health reduction, but taking that into account, now I think my view might have to change a little bit.
A few of you did mention the minus 25 health penalty, and I found in my experience, and I know, I'm not everyone else here, if I were to take 100 damage, I'm probably taking 125. So I don't feel like, unless I am actually actively trying to use my gun, which, I don't do a whole lot, that it's a big downside for me.
Yeah, you feel like when you like, I kind of, me and Chris 18 have kind of a similar playstyle where we die a lot more for picks. Like what Joe said, if you compared spy deaths across the league, his is probably one of the lowest. Me and Chris 18 probably has some of the highest. I think that's just playstyle, and it's also why we like using the big earner, is because whenever you do get the the miracle decloak, or you do fool them and you get a good timing on
It's
a
like
pick,
you're
it
either
helps you.
super hot or super cold.
Yeah, like on and off like that. And I think big earner helps you have higher highs, but you will have lower lows.
I like it on payload offense because you just die 24/7. You don't care about it because you have a really short respawn.
I should experiment with it.
Yeah, I think it does have its uses. It's just not very good on Koth, in my opinion. I don't like it on Koth.
Yeah, imagine Deft what you do when you surf damage, but with the added speed. A whole new chapter in your book just opened.
That was actually that was called the Dead Ringer.
Yeah, that was.
I already had that.
Oh right.
Now then it was stripped away from me.
Alright, so those are really most of the weapons that are in meta for Spy. He also has a bunch of weapons that aren't used as much, not seen as much. One that got buffed this update was the Your Eternal Reward. I thought that it was gonna be viable even, and I started using it in Scrim. I told Shotaway I think it's pretty good, and we both experimented with it a bit. Upon experimentation, it was a bit worse than I thought it would be, but I do think it can still be used. Have any of you guys experimented with the Ur after the change?
I've done 2 scrims since then where I experimented with the Ur, and I actually found out that it worked pretty well. But that's also a small sample size. As most people could probably guess, it's because the slower comms people hear spy and they turn around and expect to see a spy, but I'm already redisguised. So I think that gives you an extra second sometimes to get the next pick, and then that can cause confusion. And maybe it worked on those teams, but some teams may not be as susceptible.
I constantly change my disguise, so I don't like the Ur.
I think the speed boost from the big earner gives you what the Eternal Reward tries to give you, except a lot better.
It also denies an entire, like if you are playing without a disguise because you don't have enough cloak and you're already in and you need to save this cloak for, positioning yourself, the mini sentry is just denied a whole entire area for your decloak.
I found the versatility that it denies you is extreme to the point where I never want to use it again.
Yeah, the cloak thing is awful. There's a reason why people run the Latranger all the time, and it's just the reverse Latranger. It's awful.
So, yeah, Your Eternal Reward, it's interesting where it does deny that playstyle. The case I was making to Shotaway initially of why I think it could be used is because, what Chris 18 was saying, where a lot of the time when people turn around because a spy's behind them is because of the scream that happens. It's kind of the first thing it registers. If you hear a class, like a heavy scream loudly like he was backstabbed, you're going to think, oh shit, spy immediately behind me. That not having that scream works pretty much the same, if not better, than the big earner in my experience when you're trying that style. Which is, it take testing. I don't think it is, viable enough to be played permanently. It's just the cloak thing is such a big downgrade.
I will say it tilts me when the other person is using the Eternal Reward and it works.
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's just the thing with anything that's off meta working. Another off meta item that I've started running most of the time is the Enforcer. I think the Enforcer is really good because it kind of gives you, I don't want to say it gives you exactly what the Ambi had in certain situations where you'd walk up to a sniper and you'd go medium range from the sniper and you'd 2-shot him, right? Headshot, body shot. Enforcer allows for that as well, maybe from a slightly closer distance, but you will be able to 2-shot 125s with it.
How much closer? Like, let's say he's standing on China and I'm standing on the bridge on Viaduct. How close do I need to be on that bridge?
Half to 3/4.
Okay.
The first shot you can get it up to do, I think,
74.
74, yeah, something like that. Something I also discovered is funny is if your sniper Girardi is over on Koth and you try shooting someone who's Girardi with it, it will always do 70 damage from no matter what range. 70 damage is so big. I've killed medics across the map on Lakeside, from their ruins when they're backing out of main, just with that Girardi Enforcer shot. Has anyone else experiment with Enforcer?
None.
I think
I
the
don't think it's
versatility,
worth it.
Never used it.
versatility of the revolver trumps it. I think.
Does the Enforcer still have the Ambassador accuracy? That was a bug. I don't know if it ever got patched.
I believe it still does. I haven't tested it.
If it does, then it might be worth using.
I actually used it a lot in HL Pugs when the other sniper runs Razorback. I think it's just the same as the revolver, like you guys were saying. But if you have bad aim like me, it can be useful at times.
Alright. So, you guys want to do a quick mention of the Diamondback and the Letrange, I guess, as well. The last two revolvers we haven't talked about.
Yeah, when they nerfed the range of the Ambi, they didn't nerf the range of the Diamondback. What's up with that?
Deja
Anyways, yeah, just had to get that one on recording.
Unban the Diamondback because the Pyro is broken, therefore the Spy must also be broken.
You know what? I'm A-okay with that. I think that
And,
should be the mentality of the league.
I think the Diamondback is like generally better than the Ambi now.
Yeah,
Most
It
of the
is,
time.
yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
it always was, dude. It rewards you for going and killing engineer buildings, which is your job, and then you just have infinite damage.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
say it was better.
I
you had good aim, you could
don't
just
have
hit
the
one or twos
accuracy
whenever you
with the
wanted.
Diamondback. Yeah, the Ambassador accuracy is a big thing. That's why I cared about it when we spoke about the Enforcer, because like I think it cools down like almost a quarter second faster than the stock revolver does to get to full accuracy. That means a big deal. Also, the way the Ambassador accuracy worked, I could be wrong on this. If somebody else wants to correct me, go right ahead. But whereas the revolver was like either accuracy was on or off, Ambassador was gradual in terms of how the accuracy worked. So as you waited between your shots, it gradually got closer to your crosshair. Whereas the way the revolver is right now, unless you're waiting 1.25 seconds between your shots, it just has like the same spread modifier applied to it. If that makes any sense.
I think that's correct, but I don't know.
I mean, interesting. I've never, tried it like that, but
Yeah, that's why like even the Ambassador was better than the revolver for body shots, even at medium range.
alright. So, something I noticed while we were discussing weapons is two different playstyles kind of emerged. They've been prevalent in Spy for a long time. There's a playstyle where you play more passive and you try to do gun work with flank or gun work in general, and there's a playstyle where you go for pretty much picks exclusively, or you try really hard to always be in to get picks. Now, these two playstyles, they had very good, reasons why both of them could work. A lot of that was because of the weapons that were available. Some of those tools have been removed now. So I know what most of you are going to say for this question, but what's your opinion of the current state of Spy playstyle?
Underpowered.
Extremely one-dimensional.
I regret playing the class this season.
Oh,
As do I.
Right.
I finally got a good computer, and they fuck Spy in the asshole.
Yeah, not very optimal.
To add some constructiveness to the salt, I suppose. You can still diversify your play a little bit, although it's like you can parrot the revolver Den Ringer playstyle with the Inviswatch, but you essentially need to be a lot better at the game, and you need to be like constantly cloaking and decloaking to try and throw people off with it. It doesn't work outside of a 1v1 or a 2v2 scenario though. With the old Den Ringer, you'd be able to at least like take a 2v1, get as much damage as you could on one target, run away and come back. But now it's like you could probably trade 1-for-1 and then die instantly, or you could not hit every single shot and you just fucking die. And then in terms of actually going for backstabs, yeah, it's not fun. I don't enjoy it.
Yeah, a lot of it is luck based. You say time it right, you'll have a better chance, and you will if you time things correctly. But it all comes down to, in the end, if they turn around or not.
Yeah, and then sometimes, like, let's say your soldier bombs at a certain angle that you didn't anticipate, and then they try to look at him, and they end up looking at you in the process. Or some heavies who perhaps need a little bit more experience in the class will be taking Ubers and spy checking with the Ubers. It's just, it feels bad.
That's happened to you?
Yeah.
It hasn't?
No.
Maybe they don't fear you.
I like to
Probably not.
I like to refer to the classic pyro squirrel maneuver, where I go for a stab on the heavy, and then he air blasts him over my head, and I die.
Oh,
Johnny's done that many times to me.
Yeah, it happened to me every scrim in like on Old Tree Forest. It was awful.
Ooh, Tree Forest, you played with 2 hackers.
Hey man,
You know,
one of them was a pub only.
I'd also like to shout out all the people on your team that see you going for a stab, and they're also behind that enemy, and they just shoot them for 4 damage.
Yeah.
Shoutouts all around.
That's the scout special. They gotta increase their DPM and their accuracy somehow, I mean.
Shout out
Right.
to the flank members that walk inside of me while I'm cloaked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Shout out to the heavies that I walk through while cloaked and die for.
Yeah. The most annoying thing is bumping into other invisible spies when you're rolling out. That's happened to me so many times.
It happens. No, the best part is it happens on Viaduct because you decide to cross the same place, and then the enemy team shoots at you, but your team doesn't shoot at that spy.
Oh.
Yeah, I hate that.
The thing is, we all feel that way. So, is that really the case?
Yes.
Ooh,
It probably
we should talk
happens.
about counter espionage. Counter espionage has been ruined.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
we'll bring that up real quick with the playstyle discussion. I know Joe takes the most pride in killing other spies.
I love killing other spies.
Joe had like a tally, I think. I wouldn't be surprised if he had a chalkboard next to his desk and he marks one down every time he gets one.
As if I could read or write.
How could anyone who knows how to read or write be smart enough that they would play this class?
Indeed.
Regardless, so
Clearly, we don't watch Rick and Morty.
yeah, not enough. Anyway, so we voiced our opinions on the class. It sucks. The weapons as well. Some discussions of different changes to the weapons came up earlier, but if you have any more, now would be the time to say them. As well as if you have an idea for a new spy weapon or a new mechanic that would change the class, make it more interesting, interactive.
I've got an idea. I'm not sure exactly how much this would pan out, but some sort of cloak that has less duration, but you move faster in it, and some sort of faster cloak decloak time. I think that would be interesting.
I've always
faster.
wanted something with
I
a faster
think
decloak time.
Yes.
I think fast decloak time is really it'd be more unfun to play against than the ambassador.
I agree that fast
Maybe
decloak
really
time
good.
is something you got to watch out for. So maybe fast cloak time, or if you do have a faster decloak time, maybe some sort of penalty that doesn't allow you to recloak after a fixed amount of time.
I mean, this could just be a very jaded, I don't like change sort of thing, but I thought the best iteration of Spy was pre-Pyro update. In terms of, like, skill indexing and shit. Like, they gave the medic move speed, which was really nice. We have faster disguise times now when we're already disguised, which is extremely nice. And then, like, I don't know. I just thought the Dead Ringer right now, or pre-Pyro update, was better designed than the initial Dead Ringer, where it was just 90% flat damage resistance. I thought the class was actually pretty well crafted at that point. And now it kind of doesn't make sense. Like, everything's kind of anti-synergistic.
I think I have to generally agree with that sentiment.
I agree too. I actually think that the Dead Ringer was the best it's ever been, fairest to play against and funnest used.
Yeah, everything in Spy had a really good balance. There were multiple prevalent playstyles, bunch of weapons you could use, a bunch of ways you could play the game, and you could be unpredictable. You could, play differently. Now it's like you gotta play for Invis Watch or Cloak and Dagger, play for the pick.
Most fun I had was playing against Fate when he was on DK, myself being on Memento Mori, and it was like there were so many different ways we could either impede each other or just find different ways to exploit each other's teams. And it's like every single week we would get closer and closer to either to beating one another. It felt like both of us actually got a lot better over the course of the season. And now, if both of us were to play, and in fact we both did play a Pug against each other recently, it was just us decloaking on top of the enemy team and praying. And there was this old sentiment that I never agreed with, that a spy is only as good as his enemy team is bad. I feel like that might actually be true now, whereas before it wasn't even close to being true.
Yeah. A lot of things you do now are just like run-of-the-mill things that every spy has to do.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a lot truer now.
I don't want to say it's entirely the case, because there's a lot of spies that can't do what we do.
Yeah. There is an element of skill to it, but a lot of it now just comes with straight experience instead of skill expression.
Yeah, that's like... It could be... It's possible that if somebody of equal game sense to us were to play our class, but they made a different class, they'd be able to have a very similar amount of success.
That's true.
Yeah.
I feel like that's always been true, though.
Don't give me credit for having game sense.
Not any more true for Spy than it was for like another Highlander class. But now I feel like specifically for Spy, it's much easier to pick up than another Highlander class is, and perform equally to the other players.
I mean, a quote from Vipa just today was a second-year CS student could program a Pyro bot in Platinum. And
yeah.
Not gonna say the sentiment of that one, but yeah, Spy kind of feels like that now too. You just program a bot to go behind them and then decloak when someone tells them to. Like,
in the
it's
past
not
couple
that
of
simple.
weeks, in the past couple of weeks, I can only think of a couple of like you were severely outplayed scenarios that I've performed.
Yeah, a lot of picks you get now, it just feels like it happened because the timing was right, the play was right, or because you just did what you were supposed to do, wherein like focusing a certain player or class at a time, and a lot of that is just the game sense,
We can bring this back around to the big earner and say that trick stabs might give something a little bit of a skill bar back.
At its essence, yes, because you will get more picks overall if you can find out how to finagle a second pick with the big earner movement speed. But it's the same like playstyle in essence. I do think it gives that like probably the biggest thing with Spy now that you could express your individual skill with is knife mechanics, where you can somehow get a backstab that you shouldn't have been able to get, or read someone's movement perfectly and get the stab, whereas someone who didn't would miss it. A lot of medics. The thing now I noticed is if a medic is pocketing a scout, they are so hard to backstab because they get the movement speed as well.
Oh, yeah, it is pretty difficult. Before, I've said this so many times already, mostly in like pugs and shit, but before, a skilled play on Spy would be like getting 3 headshot kills in rapid succession. Now, like a skillful Spy play is getting 1 stab and potentially not dying, or getting 2 stabs and not dying. And it's not so much your ability to get in and get out, but their inability to hit you that makes it a skillful Spy play.
Yeah. Overall, the class just doesn't feel like it has a place to go.
Like, now I'm just trying to do really memey things that throw people off guard, instead of before it was quite simple, you just hit them in the face and they die.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on to maps. We have a small map discussion. What are your guys' favorite Spy maps? The best ones for Spy to play on?
Steel.
Steel?
I hate Steel.
Ooh.
Yeah, I agree. Steel.
I think
Steel's a lot
Steel,
of fun.
there's a very critical role the Spy has to play, which makes it the most interesting.
Yeah, I feel like it makes the Spy a very critical class, I think.
Yeah, because Steel's just such a complex map where, no one is always going to be in the same place all the time. And whenever you have a class that goes invisible, he can be anywhere on that map, on that massive map where no one knows where he's going to be in the first place. There's a lot you can do on Steel.
I'd also like to bring up Lakeside. It used to be my favorite map, and now I think it's my least favorite map solely because of the ambient nerfs.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
I
agree.
agree with that.
Lakeside's a terrible Spy map now.
It used to be I would argue that would be one of the best spy maps before the nerfs.
I
the worst
agree. Yeah, it was definitely one of the best, and now it's undoubtedly one of the worst because every decloak angle is in the middle of the open, or it's on the side of the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you say that spy now is just uncloak and hope they don't turn around. Imagine that, but you have to walk double the distance, and that's Lakeside. They have twice the time to react to you. That's Lakeside.
I think Upward used to be a lot better than it is now because I used to play Dead Ringer on Upward last defense and
me too
do really well with that, but now I don't know what to do because the Dead Ringer is like bad and you're kind of useless on that point.
You pretty much have to on defense. You just sit and choke with Cloak and Dagger and kill a sniper, and that's really all you can do.
That's what I mostly do on Upward defense.
Just sit in main where the cart's going through the door.
I think it's pretty easy. Like once they've already decided to make their push and their combo drops off and starts playing cart, you going up in the tile, you can deal with the soldier and sniper pretty easily because they're not paying attention.
Pretty much everything that you could have done with the Dead Ringer, or that you can do now, you could have done with the Dead Ringer on that point.
Mm-hmm.
What did you do with the Dead Ringer? Because I really wasn't around for...
You played pretty aggressively, and you would probably want to use the stock revolver. You just get up in people's faces and you just
Why can't you still do that?
Because with the Dead Ringer nerf, you'd have to hit resup every time you DR. So I still do that.
Doesn't that still accomplish what you want to do, though?
No, because you can use the DR to get behind them and then shoot them from behind. I still use DR for like maybe the last 20 to 30 seconds of that map on defense, though.
Yeah, the thing that made Upward last so good for DR and like Revolver Spy is there's so much ammo on that last point, and there's so many places you can escape to. Like there's 2 drop downs to take you to 3 different floors overall that you can get to relatively quickly, and there's a lot of ammo to pick up. And you were just able to walk into lower, shoot at people. You would either kill someone, or you would feign into that room, get that ammo pack, and then you could go upper, get the sniper standing in the window. There was just so much you could do, and there was an ammo pack up there in tiles as well. You could then wrap around to Spiral. There's a full ammo pack in there. Like DR, you just be able to move around all the time, especially when it had the movement speed. Yeah.
You can also kill the box mini with like no risk and let your scout play on the ground.
Yeah. Oh my god, yeah, without the Dead Ringer, killing minis in general is actually a lot more difficult. Puts you in so much more risk.
You pretty much, if you want a mini to go down, you have to sack for it.
You could just shoot it across the map, that's what I always used to do.
You could also sync it with like, the mini going down is in the middle of like, not a push. Doesn't really do anything because it'll just build another one.
Yeah,
You're going to be sapping the mini during a push. You sap the mini and you just gun them down while your team's pushing. It adds the extra distraction. That's really your only play.
Yeah.
Or if they're not near the mini, you just cloak away. I gotta say, talking about Upward and the Dead Ringer changes, if they bring back Badwater, that map is going to be the worst spy map to ever.
Yeah, I
God.
was going to bring up Badwater actually, because they are thinking they're going to put it in next season.
It's not a good idea. It's not really a well-made payload map. I think Borneo is better, even with Bad Blast.
Borneo is much better.
Yeah.
There's no good holds on defense in Badwater. You got first and then you got last. Everything in between is just kind of a shit show.
Yeah, it's not good. And for sure, Swiftwater is a good payload map and it should stay in. And I think Borneo is more enjoyable than Badwater.
After Badwater Pro, didn't Badwater 3rd just turn into a give-up point?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's a payload map with 4 points, and 2 of them are give-up points.
Yep.
That's
and
awful.
2 consecutive are give-up points.
Yeah, half the map is worthless.
It's just not. And now with the Dead Ringer being the way it is, there's pretty much nothing a spy can do on that map. Except wait for your team to push, and then you sap the gun and die. That's it.
Yeah. Alright, so our payload woes aside, there used to be a lot of playstyles you could use on Koth. So and Viaduct is one of my favorite topics here because it's a small enough map that I think Cloak and Dagger is viable if you have the point. But at the same time, there's a lot of merit to still running DR for being a hassle to the enemy team. So I want to focus on Viaduct for a little bit because it's probably the most popular Koth map that will never go away. So what do you guys think about Viaduct and how you play Viaduct at certain times?
Viaduct, I seem to have the majority of my really good performances on that map, and well, at least before all the changes, I don't really know how I stand now with it. I think Cloak and Dagger in general on Koth is the most correct watch for the majority of the time, because now that you don't have the ambassador, you can't play like the sort of wandering 102 shit and run away spy. You kind of have to just sit there and wait for an opportunity to get a backstab. And Cloak and Dagger, the part of the job criteria is sitting there and doing nothing.
I like the Cloak and Dagger. I also think the stock can work. I've always ran this. I've always done stock spy. I very rarely have used Cloak and Dagger throughout my time playing this game. But just this past season, towards the end, I've realized its merit and that it actually has very good benefits, especially for Koth. So I do agree that I think Cloak and Dagger in general is better, but the stock is still playable. And you just have to rotate between the kits and deny health kits and ammo.
Depends on how their team is playing the map.
Yeah.
Stock is
Because if you're running
playable.
around with stock and changing your disguise a lot, you're going to be changing the disguises that are missing health, and you can deny the flank health kits. You can steal sandwiches. You can do this all with the Cloak and Dagger too, but with less mobility.
Yeah, and that's why I like it on Viaduct most of any Koth map, because it is a small map. You don't have to move as much as, say, Lakeside. Lakeside, I can't find myself running it just because you can't really cross fast enough. And when you have a playstyle like me or Chris where you die a lot for picks, having to cross more often makes crossing slower really, really bad.
Yeah.
So I run pretty much perma Invis Watch on Lakeside, and I do Invis Watch pushing Viaduct and Cloak and Dagger defending Viaduct.
I've used Cloak and Dagger once or twice on Viaduct, and I was frustrated that I couldn't get any picks, especially when teams were kind of overpowering my team, and all they were doing was spy checking. So I switched more to intel, just giving straight up intel positioning, and that's all that I did. I don't think Cloak and Dagger is bad, but I just personally don't run it a lot.
I think a much smarter, or at least much more productive conversation would be, when you're playing Koth maps, do you focus the flank or the combo most?
I focus the combo more often.
Yeah, same here.
I just do it based on what's open.
Yeah, I would same here.
Which requires Cloak and Dagger.
If I notice that I can never really get anywhere close to the combo, I will switch to flank more often, but I generally
default to combo, right? More. Yeah, I do as well.
I think going into a game with the sole directive, like I'm going to focus the flank, is never a good idea, and it should just be based on what's going on.
I have kind of a notoriety for my kill spreads always being demo heavy medic sniper, like those 4 exclusively, and that kind of reflects, what I do. I really don't go for flank a lot, even if, our flank is getting overrun. I'll still try to do things like focus sniper, so our flank can peek more. Granted, that may not be the best. I find that scout players, I think my reaction time is dick, and I can't stab scouts. My aim is also not very good, and I can't 2-shot scouts. Granted, I started trying more often after I used the enforcer, which can 2-shot scouts.
Right.
I think when the opportunity arises, if you get a quick flank pick, it allows your flank to overrun whatever your flank's trying to hold, and then
flank picks are infinitely safer.
Yeah,
they are. And I love making soldier mains mad because they always get pissed off when a spy stabs them.
Mm-hmm.
And a soldier pick, in my eyes, is a really strong pick because they do a lot of damage and they have a lot of abilities to kill the sniper and the medic.
Yeah, they always tend to do damage right below the demo man and the snipers.
Yep.
Despite the fact that they have kind of a low-key position on the team.
Alright. We've already kind of voiced our thoughts on Steel. It's a really good spy map. As for 5CP, Gullywash exclusively is probably only going to be seen in Highlander from now on. What's your guys' opinion of Gullywash as a spy map?
It's been so long, and we haven't played it since the changes. It's hard to say.
I say the Gullywash spy was mostly Cloak and Dagger, right?
Yeah.
I don't think much change.
I think it was pretty ambassador reliant.
Yeah, I used to run Ambi almost and try to play Ambi almost full time on it.
the best ambi memory I have on that map was I would just walk into choke, and then they would be pushing my team's choke. I'd walk into their choke, and I remember I hit Praise the Sun's medic with 2 ambi shots in a row and dropped them. And that's like the only time I've ever done that in my Spy career.
A lot of times what I would do is run DR to mid, DR to second, and then if I die defending or pushing last, I go to IW.
I think if there's any map that you're going to want to utilize your disguises on, this is probably the easiest map to do it.
I agree with that.
Alright, so Gullywash. Now, more on the Spies, kind of what you do when you play Spy. We've been over the fact that it's kind of a one-dimensional play style. So some of the things that are really important with Spy right now are communications and collapsing with sacks and pushes, because that's when it's easiest for you to do your job, because there are distractions going on. So it depends map by map, obviously, but a quick discussion on how you sack, or when your team does, or how you collapse during pushes would be interesting, because what I find that I'm doing on Koth maps is I'm just waiting back. Like on Viaduct, for instance, I'll just wait back on Cliff. I'll try to communicate with my soldier. Soldier players can vouch that I communicate with them probably the most out of a lot of Spy players. I always talk to my soldier, and I'll have them bomb, and I'll just walk up to them, and we'll pretty much always get a force or a med drop, depending on if he pops to the rocket or drops to the stab. Payload, it's more so like you kind of have to rely on your whole team at the same time, because everyone's coming in the same way. But hearing interesting strategies on how you guys do sacks or collapses would be cool.
I guess I'll start. I generally like myself to be the one that's being baited versus me baiting to get the nice, cool one stab. I'd rather me go first and have a lot of players focus me in order to have more damage output overall.
Yeah, if I notice that the entire team is quick to chase me, I will reveal myself without even the intention of getting a kill, and it allows, because they're looking at me, our team wins the mid or the fight or whatever is happening.
There's definitely been some overzealous pyros that like to spy check and chase. It's definitely very helpful to try to bait them out, and I've done that a few times. But I don't know where I was going with it. I'm sorry.
That's fine. We understand the sentiment where pyros will chase spies all the time.
Yes, and scouts.
Yeah.
So, do you define a push as exclusively an Uber exchange, or are you talking like dry pushes?
Dry pushes work as well. Anything where there's a coordinated attempt by your team to force the other team out.
Okay. I would say like in every sort of sack / Uber exchange, that is when the sniper is the easiest to kill, and that's where the majority of my sniper picks are, and that's also when the sniper pick is the most important. Also, it's very important to get your kill early in the push. There are a lot of stat padding spies that get kills after the push is already over and it's already a stalemate, and they get like a worthless pick and they die for it. And then it's like they've essentially done nothing.
See, I would... Oh, go ahead.
No, there's really nothing else I would add to that.
I was just gonna say, I would argue that, like, living for a post-Uber is pretty good a lot of the time. Like, if your team is deciding that they're going to try and accomplish most of the push, like, post-Uber, that's, like, usually when there's a lot of openings, because you might not really be able to do anything when everyone's getting Ubered.
Right, I'm talking more like the fighting is pretty much subsided and you're getting people that are running away.
Agree. Yeah, I would agree. That's just a useless pick.
Yeah, but in a lot of situations, I do agree with Vipa, where there will be an Uber and a post-Uber most of the time. And a lot of times, when I see a lot of spy picks coming when I'm playing, whether it be me or the enemy spy, it's like right after the Uber fades is when the most picks happen. Because like getting a pick early in the push is hard because there's always going to be between 2 and 4 players invincible. And then, at that point, people are going to be rushing the point ahead of you. and the faster classes or the jumping classes, Scout Soldier, they don't really stick around for you to stab them. So during Uber
that would be a
pushes,
time to get a sniper though.
yeah, that's the time you get a sniper. Or if you can't get a sniper there, you don't really have much to aim for. You could aim for the engineer, but that's kind of not optimal.
Both of those picks, the great thing about either of those picks in the beginning of a push is that, again, they're free. Like, extremely low risk. You get the kill and you can get away. And I think it's very important to take up as many of those free kills as possible.
Except when the Uber heavy. Except when the Uber heavy spy checks you.
There's only like 2 in the league that do that. And both of them are Traylon.
Okay, so sacking collapsing on any map is a team effort. What are communications that you use to help that work out? As well as what do you decide to tell your team in general when you're communicating, whether it be on Uber or off Uber?
Most important call is definitely calling like as precise as you can where the sniper is standing.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, I call every single time I decloak with the intention of getting a kill and who I'm trying to kill. I think that is extremely beneficial.
Yeah,
Season 15 Giraffe taught me that.
Yeah,
well, he didn't teach me. He begged me to do it every decloak.
Same here. And then it took me maybe a year after playing with him to actually start doing it.
And another thing that took me a while to understand is if you just called the sniper, say 5 or 10 seconds ago, you need to call him again.
You need to call him again.
Yeah.
That's a lot. I think a lot of people don't think about that because I know I didn't.
Yeah, I make it a routine that whenever I see the sniper, I'll call his location, and if it's a place like he's peeking China, I'll call from which side he's peeking it, and I always call if the sniper has a buff or not.
I think this is something that could be interesting. Have any of you ever played on a team that the comms are flooded pretty much 24/7?
I play on the doors, Joe.
Okay, so do you feel like it's our responsibility to be calling the sniper less often?
No.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
No. The sniper call is one of the single most important things to be said. And you should be making sure your team hears it. That's one of the jobs of Spy, is to make sure your team hears where the sniper is, even if you're talking over people.
When I was playing on DK, for instance, it was very easy because they gave me all the space I needed to call out the sniper as much as I wanted to. But when you play on a newer team,
not so much.
It feels like you might even be cluttering the comms with how often you're trying to call it. But I am of the opinion that it is.
It's not your issue, it's the team's issue. And you need to bring it up to your teammates.
I'm of the opinion that the spy should be calling, like, between the 4th and 3rd most on his team, behind, the main caller and maybe the second flank caller.
Probably second most.
I
call second most.
Yeah, for sure. Second most.
I probably do second.
Although these are like semantics. These are semantics at this point.
Yeah. It's like, no one else can call the sniper without peeking him, and then they die.
Oh, it's real. I feel like snipers must get really tilted when we call them like every 3 seconds, and our sniper always fucking kills them instantly. I love doing that.
Yeah.
I think my favorite call is when I see a new fresh spy respawning, cloaking through a specific area, and I tell my team the spy is going to be cloaking from A at T, and my team kills him.
Yeah, you map them out.
You should always call whether or not the sniper's charged. That's a really important call that no one says.
Ooh, I actually don't say.
It informs your sniper whether or not you can, like, if he is buffed and he knows the other sniper's not charged, you can quick peek and just 150 him, like headshot easily.
Instead of saying sniper's charged, what I say is he's slow peeking.
That's what I say.
That's what I say. That's a good perspective, though, is that I'd never say if he's not slow peeking.
Right, exactly. You should say that, like, he's unpeaked, so your sniper just gets a free peek, even if he gets headshot. It doesn't matter if he's buffed.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Right, like if he's just unscooped. Yeah, okay.
That's an interesting perspective I've never thought of.
Yeah.
I normally just say he's peeking whenever he's hard-scoped and moving. Yeah. And any other time he's not hard-scoped and moving, I just call his position.
It helps if you play with the same sniper for seasons on end. Like, me and Bor, like, always kind of have a understanding of what I'm calling. He gets used to my calling style. Like, you should try and learn, or try and, like, build a calming sort of style with your sniper so they actually know what you're saying.
play pubs together and just call everything for him. Be like his spotter.
That's interesting. I'll try that one out. Alright, so on to more spy mechanics. We'll start this one out with our good friend, the Master of Disguise. How do you use disguises?
You hit tab, you see who's dead on their team, and you disguise as them. And then if nobody's dead on their team, you disguise as the heavy anyways. And then you drop Nursey and you put it in a video, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Very nice.
That aside, I do think disguising just gets underused with, not the top half of spies.
I mean, when I was just able to use the Ambassador and the Dead Ringer, I didn't use disguises all too intelligently.
Yeah.
But even back then it would have been useful. Now it's extremely useful. And I don't know how you guys do your approach to stabs, but I'm uncloaked for a lot of it. I don't ever decloak in line of sight of anybody. I never decloak on top of people, so my disguises are the reason why I get picks.
Yeah, I can go back and show you guys a bunch of videos and clips of me utilizing disguises in like season 18 and season 16 because I had really shitty aim and a shitty computer.
Yeah.
I was a spy that really had to rely on disguises and just outbraining the enemy.
Disguise as soldier with a whip, disguise as engineer, and stand on top of the dispenser.
Yeah, changing the weapon also.
DK Carl himself gave me a full Uber because I disguised as their demo while he was dead.
Is that the 2-minute video with the 1.5-minute intro?
Correct.
Alright. I remember I got Ubered by MTS's medic one time on a Viaduct. Yeah, Harblu, because I disguised as their engineer and I had pistol out.
And he Ubered you?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd Uber Spamfest too, if Spamfest was the NG at that time.
I took an Uber disguise as them from Brule.
Something else that I want to try, I'm going to set up a script so that every time I switch my weapon on my, every time I switch my actual weapon, it'll switch my disguise weapon, and I'll have that on like a toggle.
I have
That's interesting.
In my config, I press 4, and it'll switch my disguise to primary, and then back to the last weapon, 5 secondary, 6 melee. It's like, you get the idea. So a lot of times, I hit 5, and then I'm disguised with the secondary weapon back on the last weapon I was disguised as.
Are you able to do that without actually switching weapons?
Not without actually switching weapons. It switches them for, like, as minimally as possible in time.
Yeah, my whole philosophy is, like, a lot different. I don't ever really... I mean, maybe once in a blue moon I would disguise as something intentionally, but I pretty much just disguise as, like, scout or spy 99% of the time, because I'd rather have the 8% speed than, like, and then just try and not get seen than count on anyone believing me.
The speed is important. Yeah, that's probably the playstyle that I play most often as well, is I just go for a fast class and just try to surprise.
Oh, fuck. I forgot, dude.
Yeah.
I've been doing spy all along. I'm a dumbass. I didn't think the scout would give you the extra 8%, but of course it would.
Oh,
well,
wow.
spy does too, because...
Yeah, I've been doing spy because I know spy would, but I'm a complete dumbass and haven't been using the scout.
No.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I mean, majority of the time I, as well, am just disguised as the faster classes, but it's really just like, you can't try to fool people with your disguises every time, because then they expect it.
Yeah.
But you pull it out maybe once or twice in a match, and it can be extremely impactful.
Yeah, alright.
Yeah, next topic, I guess.
Yeah, the next topic was just about Razorback Girardi. We'll make this one a quick one. Opinions on the Razorback being unbanned next season. How would you counter it?
Gun.
Keep
no
it
ambi.
With
no ambi. Yeah.
I think if the sniper's inside of the combo being protected, even with the gun, it's very difficult, probably impossible in some situations to kill him with the gun.
Yeah, I think it should remain banned.
I would agree with that.
I agree.
Yeah, a lot of people think every spy thinks it should remain banned.
I don't think it really matters.
Except Vipa?
I don't know. I feel like if the sniper runs Razorback, then my sniper just puts him in the ground, so...
I also agree with that.
Ideally, that would happen, yes.
I'd rather the Razorback stay unbanned, because it just makes my life easier in the cases my sniper is losing out. But I don't think it's a weapon that really needs to have a big push to remain banned. If
think-
there's a big push to unban it, I don't think there's really much we can say to keep it unbanned at this
I
point.
think it's silly to have an item that puts even more responsibility on my sniper. It takes responsibility away from me for killing their sniper, but it puts extra on him for being able to stay competitive.
And that's why...
that essentially increases the impact of sniper even more in Highlander, which is already a big problem.
The thing about the Razorback, though, is that it's not the Druadi.
Yes, honestly,
Yeah.
if anything needs to be banned, the Girardi is banned.
Girardi and Mad Milk should be banned.
Yeah, I agree. It actually doesn't really reward much skill, or it rewards too much for too little skill.
You just throw it into pocket
Just
on
throw it.
Viaduct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then your team wins because it's such a good benefit.
Yeah, about the Razorback and what Shotaway said about, if a sniper is in his combo being, healed by medic, granted he's not overhealed with the Razorback, that's why I'm going to start running Enforcer if it does get unbanned all the time, is because you still two-shot him. So, real quick, we've already made a notice of the Pyro Buffs making Spy a lot harder to play, whether it be because of the Spycicle or anything else, the fact that you're taking way more damage. In general, the consensus is probably the same. What's your opinion on Pyro Buffs, and how would you go about it playing Spy after them? What have you had to change since then?
You can't just 3-shot a Pyro with the revolver because he'll just kill you faster than you can hit every shot.
Yeah.
You have to 6-shot him from a further distance now.
Mm-hmm. You will never want to take a 1v1 with a Pyro now, unless it is, of course, at that distance.
Or they're already hurt, and you can finish them in 2 shots.
Which isn't really a 1v1 anymore, necessarily. I think that if we want to talk about the overall impact on Highlander, now skillful Pyro play is how fast you can flail your mouse. Because the way flamethrower damage works now, you only need 1 particle connecting to do the full damage. So, my friend Hardass Johnny,
oh my god,
has practiced relentlessly how to flail his mouse most efficiently, and that's the skill indexing of Pyro now.
True story.
While decreasing the spies.
Yeah.
Those dang interns at Valve.
Yeah, playing against Pyro now, it's made me even less likely to do anything while he's alive other than go for flank.
I feel like just the Yikes Pyros that just hold W are more prevalent now, so it's actually easier to kill combo players, but I don't know.
That's an interesting take on it.
Depends.
Anyway.
I mean, Oblivion, once you start playing against Oblivion, he actually, he sits inside the combo the entire time.
Yeah.
Just inside it, turned around.
We conditioned him from playing with him.
Yeah.
That's because I told him to do that when I was playing Medic.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, so now on to an interesting topic for right now. What's your guys' opinion on the hardest team or player to play against right now as Spy?
Well, I haven't played Spy. I haven't played Spy in like 4 seasons, but
the 2 hardest people. Oh, I'm sorry.
Ender was the hardest player I've ever played against on Spy.
Oh, I can agree with that one.
I actually disagree.
Old K&D was so good at spy checking, I thought.
I thought that lower tier teams actually were more successful than K&D at spy checking because everything K&D and DK did.
When did you play against K&D? Season
18.
Okay, yeah, that's a different K&D than what Vipa was talking about.
Well, I was talking about 18 and 19 and 20.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's when he and I were playing Plat.
Because
18 was Kresnik still.
Yeah. It's still Kresnik.
Yeah, so I mean, what about it was different?
I don't know. I felt like season 16 and season 15 K&D and season 4, not season 16. I played with them in 16, but season 15 and 14 were much harder to I don't know.
Well,
Looking
I
through
guess
the logs,
that's why the question is, what's the hardest you've ever played against? Because I never played against that iteration.
that's true. I completely forgot when you started playing Vipa.
So I
I
don't
thought
know.
you
I
started
would
playing earlier.
consider it. I'm more annoyed. I mean, yeah, obviously, when the lower level teams that don't know how to push just tunnel the spy, obviously it's annoying. But I find it more annoying when they're able to kill you and actually be like effective. I don't know, which
The
is why
same
Ender
time,
annoyed
yeah.
me because he would just play the game and then know that you were coming at the exact time and turn around and kill you and then just keep playing the game. And that to me is the most frustrating.
Yeah, but in my experience, I found that it was actually pretty successful against Ender. I'd say out of everyone on K&D, Kresnik was the best at countering me. And that might have been because I played a season with him before.
Yeah, I took a long break between like seasons 16 and 20 where I didn't play at all. So I didn't play against any of those guys. When I came back, I played gold as well. So in my gameplay, probably the hardest was Oblivion, just because most recent, who was also just completely shuts spies down.
I think ODB might be the hardest.
ODB is interesting. Yeah, I've not gotten killed by a demo man as much as playing against ODB.
ODB just plays, his movement is good enough where it's kind of difficult to stab him already. And then he also has enough game sense to kind of catch you out. ODB and Psy were both very spy-aware demo men, in my experience playing against them. And now Psy guy won invite.
I don't know if it's just me, but sometimes I have big problems with the scout. Like, for example, I had problems with Nugget.
I didn't have problems with him because he doesn't really hit his shots. But
shots fired.
I will give you Chris 18. The one time I played against Nugget, I think I played him twice, but the first time, all he did was run around his own like upward third as they were pushing glass with Mad Milk out, trying to look for me.
Paul.
Lex was the master of.
Lex was the master, yeah.
Oh my god, Lex.
Most difficult.
Yes,
Lex was the master scout spy checker.
Yeah.
Most spyware sniper.
Vlad.
I wonder about that one.
Footsteps.
I played with Watterson last season, so I can't really say it, but the season before that, I found him to be the most spyware.
I feel like Watterson's not as spyware as he used to be right now, though.
I agree. It feels like he declined in his ability to do so.
I don't really feel like many snipers right now really are super spy aware.
Yeah.
Cloud Shade.
I think Cloud Shade sound whores to an insane amount. It's unbelievable.
Whenever I played against Scissor, he was always really spy aware.
Vipa said he has to leave. I'll go ahead and start wrapping it up. So I'll skip the whole mechanics thing because we talked about plenty of that. Just real quick for the stream viewers and people watching who aren't high up in UGC, what would you do to improve at Spy right now and things you would avoid?
Okay. Best way to improve at Spy would just be looking over your demo and being like, every time I right clicked, why did I right click? And I think from there you'll kind of be able to put together a larger image. Like, you just broaden the scope. Every time you right click, why did I cloak here? Why did I decloak here? What was my objective when I walked left versus walking right? Everything in Spy right now is pretty pure because there's never the I could have 102'd him right there. It's always just, why did I go here versus why did I go there? And how long did I wait before I right clicked? Shit like that.
Something I did before and still try to do is watching other spies play. I think watching their playstyles and seeing what they do in situations where maybe I would be doing something else or not knowing what to do, that helps me a lot.
Yeah, like looking at a lot of people's gameplay helped me because I was able to look at what worked for each of them. And, I don't want to say I put together the best of all of them because I clearly haven't, but you get an idea of what works and then you try to incorporate, your own style upon like all these other players' play styles, and you just try to find something that'll work and it'll get you noticed, get you respected.
You're definitely gonna find out what you're best at, and I think one of the most divisive points in Spy gameplay, for example, is how well somebody can aim the gun. But yeah, people who hit more of their shots tend to play Spy in a much different way. Like, I think I play pretty baity with the revolver. I'm not really getting in there with the knife as somebody like Zag or Chris may.
Yeah.
I'm much more contemplative because I realize if I stay alive, I could still potentially kill somebody with a revolver. It just little things like that. I don't know. I feel like Spy is in its most pure state, but that's not necessarily a good thing.
Yeah, it all comes down to what you like playing and what you're good at playing. Some things are obviously going to be better at its essence, like, if you can stay alive after a pick, that'll be optimal, but if you wouldn't get the pick you wanted by, settling for something else and getting out, that's not exactly what you want as a player. That'll change. I think the best way to improve is to play the game, and granted, it's very hard at this state because pugs, there's one pug site right now. You don't get an essence for playing competitive Spy by playing pubs. It just doesn't help at all.
Yeah, I'd say the best thing for me in terms of getting better at the game was the fact that I was circle jerked as soon as I hit gold, and I was able to play with and against really good players. Just having that exposure was essential.
Yeah.
Once you go plat, never go back.
So I would also do your best to try and be friends with everybody in your community, and just by being a well-liked person, you're going to be able to play with and against the best people.
Yeah.
I think expanding a little bit on what Joe said earlier, when you're actually playing, I think you want to ask yourself, this pick that I'm going to go for, is it actually worth getting? Like we did mention earlier, getting a pick after, a push is over and nothing's really going on, is just going to be still a stalemate until the next push and that guy's going to be up again. And think about what class it is too. For example, if, a whole Uber's coming in and you're picking the engineer who's hanging behind, that might be a little less useful than trying to go for a sniper or someone on the flank who might come around and get behind your team.
Yeah, it's all about like analyzing what you're doing, like Joe said, and if you are smart enough to know that you decloaking for an engineer was not the optimal situation when you did it anyway, then you'll improve. If you're smart enough to look at your gameplay and know what you did wrong, then you'll improve.
Also, reach out to any of us. I feel like all of us are depressed enough that we'd love to watch somebody else play Spy instead of playing it ourselves.
Yeah.
Speak for yourself.
And, he's a great player. He's one of the legends.
Yeah, he's the best ever, I would say. Anyway, yeah, a lot of us will mentor as well. So, keep on playing this class. Hopefully they buff it sometime.
Don't keep on playing.
Don't play this class ever again.
Switch
what are you
to
doing?
engineer. Switch to engineer.
No, you gotta switch to pyro. Duh.
I'm the best engineer in the world. I need somebody to compete with me.
Have you hit 400 DPM yet on engineer?
Yes.
He has actually, yeah.
Oh, okay, good. You're at that level.
Anyway, it's about to hit scrim time for a lot of people, so we're gonna end it off. I'd like to thank all of you for coming today, as well as Deldongo and Vipa, who left for scrims a little while ago. So, thank you for coming out. I will make this edit together for video. Thank you all for streaming, and thank all the stream viewers. And yeah, we'll see you guys maybe if we do another next season. Probably not.
Honestly, why we wouldn't?
We'll see.
We could, yeah.
We'll see.
A lot of changes.
Maybe next time we'll do it in person. I mean, I'll be a billionaire by next year, so I could fly you guys out to my mansion.
Yeah, and then and then we do it in person so that we don't have two mumbles jacked in a row.
Actually, somebody still might jack us in person. That would be a terrorist attack. Though.
Yeah, then they could get arrested in real life, and then we win.
That's true. You could run us all over with a truck.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you guys, and bye.
Thank you, everyone.